One moment, please. I need to get it organized up here. We've got a heavy load today.
Right?
Sign in down. You know, you test this technology. I think Paul knows about this, and then you get up here, and the technology doesn't want to do anything.
Slideshow from the beginning.
Yay. Luck is a predetermined accident, just so you know. I read a lot of older literature. In the 1950s, there was a group of psychologists. These psychologists were obsessed with figuring out why some people are smarter than others. I often think that myself. What it comes down to is George Miller and other people from all around the world were looking at the mind, quantifying statistically through other methods, and I'm going to explain to you this method makes more sense in just a minute. It'll all come together here. Why there's a limit on what we can actually understand. Why can we say, oh, this is going to be fine, and then as time goes on, it dwindles away, and then what do we have? We have a blank thought in front of our face. This is where the lucky number 7 has to come into play. The lucky number 7 is a mathematical equation that our brains encounter. Our brains can think in a series. They're linear thinking machines, always looking for answers. The trick with being a linear thinking machine is you can only compound, add so many things together before the machine doesn't know what it's doing and gets lost. Throughout their testings, they did one-dimensional testings. They would do colors or lights or dots or something. This is the late 60s. There wasn't technology and AI and all that stuff around them. They were using paper and pens to figure out why the brain has limits when some people in this world don't have those limits. Of course, they're very few and far between. Here's where this all starts to make sense. Our brains are logarithmic thinkers. Logarithmic functions can go in any base that you want to put under them, but ours is log 2, or base 2 is what they call it. Do we have it? There it is. So imagine, someone says, how many decisions does it take to answer a specific question? Let's just say, for example, we put 4 doors on the screen. Those 4 doors. Are those 4 decisions? No. That's 2 decisions. Is it the left door, the right door, the bottom door, or the upper door? And then whatever's left over after that, it must be the next door. That is a binary decision. It's a yes-no answer that determines one, and then takes the next answer and determines the next question. The reason that we work mathematically is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. That's 7. That is 128 bits is what our brains can process at one point in time. And then, actually it's called 7 plus or minus, depending on who you are. Okay. So, for a 128-bit decision, that is 7 iterations, so 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, and 2, and then by a value for deduction, you will know which door you were looking for if you had 128 choices. That is how log-based thinking in the human mind works. How can I pull this together for you first? Okay. This is the fun number. mayor in Addison talked about this a few weeks ago, and this is a very unintentional situation. This just happened to fall in front of my face. As I'm reading this book, he throws out this word called chunky. That is actually the answer to how we process all this information. In fact, let's go with the current lottery ticket. 0718245156. Can anybody remember that? Like just off the top of their head? If you can't, great, you're above 7. But let's just say you were to say 718245156. That's pretty easy to remember, isn't it? 718. That's the concept of chunking. You take these thoughts in our brains and we deduce them down to what the actual solution is. That is the capacity of our brain. Why is it 7? We don't know. We don't know. But we do have limits. I have so much more to tell you guys about this, and I didn't expect me to actually make it this far. I'm going to leave it like this, and we'll have a part 2 to this, where I can refine this. This was a little bit thrown together. 7 is the edge of our clarity in our minds. When you think about it, when it happens after 7, our brains get confused. The solution to the problem in every situation that has to do with the number 7 is ask better questions.